and this is pretty much our first podcast ever. I've never done a podcast before.
I haven't either.
No.
I listen to loads like you probably do, but I've never, ever. And it feels weird because I record webinars and video. We shoot loads of video, which we'll probably talk about over the next few weeks or months or whatever, but it feels weird.
I know, like I was saying before that I feel nervous about doing it. I've been on camera like 1,000 times probably, but this seems worse. I'm not sure. It's like a vulnerability.
Like a radio. I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, we decided to start this podcast. It's actually myself, Jamie, and there's another guy called David. We're basically all three of us are business partners. We have a company called Viddyoze that we run, and we decided to start this podcast to basically talk about our journey so far, I guess, and everything that we've been through. Ups and downs, mostly downs, I guess, and then just kind of talk about.
Suppose document what we're doing now as well.
And
what's going to happen over the next few years, and I mean, I suppose we should give a bit of background as to what Viddyoze is, and then maybe who we are in a bit more detail.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. My name's Jamie Garside. I'm one of the co-founders of Viddyoze with Joey and David, and we've built a software platform called Viddyoze, as we've said, that allows you to create animations. Now, we won't go too much into that in this particular episode, but we probably want to maybe start further back. But yeah, this is all about how we've built that software platform, what have we done in revenue now, actually?
Yeah, I mean, we've probably done about close to $30 million in sales at this point. It's 2020. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah.
2020, start of the year, $30 million pretty much, and we're completely bootstrapped. So we don't have any kind of investors, anything like that. It's all me, David, and Jamie. It's all our own money.
Yeah.
Money that we've sacrificed, I suppose.
One thing as well, which I think is really important, none of us are coders either. And that's probably quite an important point. And again, you'll probably see over the next few weeks as we talk about how we've built it, that you don't necessarily have... You associate with software, coders, developers. I know all my friends, when they talk about, so what is it you actually do? I'm like, well, we've got this software company and I show them online. And they just think I'm a coding genius.
Yeah.
The amount of times... No, I can't code.
The amount of times I've been approached and I say what I do, and it's like, oh, so you're an IT. You're an IT nerd. I'm like, well, just because I'm dark-skinned and from Asia, it doesn't mean I'm a coder. No,
you're good with computers. Can you help me with my broadband?
Yeah, so that's pretty much that's the kind of like general consensus people have with me. But yeah, I mean... So that's where Viddyoze is at. Pretty decent sized company. We've got about 40 people in the business right now. We're based in Manchester actually a place called Preston, but we just say Manchester because most people know Manchester.
Yeah.
And then, that's pretty much where we're at.
I suppose if we, I mean, I don't know what people like listening to with podcasts and stuff and hearing about, where we've come from and that type of thing. But I suppose it'd be, now we've mentioned none of us code. We've got this software platform that's worth X amount. We've done $30 million in revenue to this point, and it launched in 2015 as well for anyone interested. People are probably wondering, well, how we actually got into that and how we kind of came together, because obviously I'm from Lancaster, by the way, so if anybody knows North UK where Preston is, Lancaster is where I'm originally from. That's where I grew up. David's Preston. I mean, you'll hear from David in the next episode, and then you're from London, so I suppose we probably take it back so people kind of get an idea of the context of how we got together. And
yeah, I mean, I think most people listening right now are probably like out on the journey to try and build their own business and that. And I think we've kind of got quite a few experiences of building a business, some bad ones, some good ones. Like when I started out, I'm from an area called Slough, which is like South London. It's a terrible area. If you've ever watched Office, the UK Office, you'll see Ricky Gervais talking about Slough quite a bit. But yeah, I started out when I left my education, I left in the middle of my education. I didn't go to university or anything like that. And then I basically got into door-to-door sales.
Yep.
It was like the worst job in the world. But actually, probably the best teaching.
I was going to say, because I've got a sales background as well, and I think I owe a lot to the boiler room sales environment I was in. I think I do anyway. It
was rough. Yeah. Like I didn't even know when I started that I was only on commission. So I was getting paid like $400 or £500 a week, which was really good for my age. And I was like, this is amazing, like getting paid loads. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't making any sales and went to get the cash because I was being paid cash. And then they didn't give me anything. And I was like, what happened?
Why am I not getting
I wasn't getting paid. And that was just my naivety, really.
Yeah, I worked for it was boiler room sales. I'm the type of guy, I was on the phone calling businesses, basically trying to sell advertising, the people everybody hates. But one thing I do take from that, and even though the environment was, in fact, just before that as well, I mean, on a more personal note, I was probably in like heavy depression. We've got like a bit of similarities from our backgrounds with music as well, because I produced some beats and did some music stuff like you did, and you'll probably maybe talk about that over the next few episodes. And I was literally just doing that type of thing in my bedroom at my mum's house, depressed, and my mum basically forced me to get this job. And I was like, Jesus, I don't want to be doing this. And then ended up pushing myself into this job and then becoming top salesperson in this boiler room. And the whole thing we were selling, kind of like, it's not the environment I'd want to be in now, but I would say the skills I've picked up from that I use them every single day in this business right now, especially like things like even this, delivery on camera, webinars, all of that stuff comes from, I think, the patter that I had on the phone in that boiler room, which was very, very high pressured.
I remember them just kind of giving us like a guide of what to say. And I just found myself having to blag my way through the job. Like I remember like we used to have all these weird tricks when we'd knock on the door. Like we'd like, as we're kind of pitching at the door, we'd accidentally lean into the doorbell and things like that on purpose, just to like kind of like make the whole moment like more enjoyable for the person at the door. Just things like that.
Pattern interrupt that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I got a lot of confidence, like in terms of just speaking to people about work. Anyway, I'm not a confident person generally, but I think with that kind of thing, I got confident.
You
doing
have to
that
be
kind
on
of
that,
thing.
don't you? Forced into it, I suppose.
Yeah, and then I mean, I started out door to door, and then I got into like banking, and I wanted to do mortgages and loans. So I thought that would be the way to get rich. And
was it recruitment as well? You were
like later on, after the bank, I went and worked in recruitment, which was a horrendous job.
We've had some bad experiences with that as well, which we'll probably talk about over the next few
bad
weeks.
hires, recruitment, and then basically like I started working at this events company, which actually was probably the best job I had, where I was managing a team of like 20 odd people. I was pretty young at the time as well, but then they made me redundant. So it's like that fucked up as well, basically. Oh, sorry. I don't even know if I'm supposed to.
Yeah, that'll
sorry.
be fine.
So then that was that. And then because I wanted to be a manager. Like I was like 20 odd years old and I'd already been managing someone. And I was like, I don't want to work in a normal role
Like
now.
you're going back.
Yeah. So then I was like, well, I can't do sales now because unless I'm a manager, I don't want to do it. So I went and got an accounts job. Working as a fucking accountant, like didn't know anything about numbers. It was like really bad at it. So
Yeah, I was in the sales for a couple of years. Then I went on my own, and that's when you do you know what? I think sales as well, for anybody that's in sales, probably might even have that entrepreneurial. In fact, I think that type of industry, when you go into sales, you have to have that entrepreneurial type of spirit, if you will. You want to earn money, make money, and I think what I was doing was selling web design, SEO, all of that wave, and then I thought I can build websites. I've got WordPress, in fact, it wasn't WordPress at the time. It was something even worse. Xsite Pro. It was. I don't know if you remember that. Xsite, which was XSIT Pro. I don't know if that company's still there, but I used to be able to build these HTML sites on there, and I figured out how to do my own SEO on local or whatever, and I thought, well, I may as well, if I'm selling this every day in for someone else, I'll go myself. And the funny story, so I was living in Lancaster, and I thought, being completely new, is right, I'm going into my own business here, right, how do I need to act, how do I need to be? Well, I need to wear a suit. And I, no word of a lie, got an office in Manchester. There was no need for it. I could have just done it at home. I thought, right, I'll get an office in Manchester. It's a big city, prestigious, all of that. So I got this office in Manchester, which was a complete waste of money. But I used to travel every day on the train into Manchester from Lancaster, staying at my sister's house as well, because it was quite a long commute, in a suit to sit in an office on my own.
Oh my God.
And and I sold SEO and web design in there, and basically just got a few clients, but nothing big. And then I started getting into marketing online. That's because you're kind of looking around, you're on forums, you're looking at how can you do this SEO. Came across the Warrior Forum, which is, we were all kind of part of that. And then, from there, just started making digital products. That was kind of how I moved towards internet.
It's
IT.
funny you said about I thought about the suit thing, because I think a lot of people when they start, it's like I did the same thing. Like I got business cards when I started, and I think a lot of people when they're probably hearing this now and they're like, "Well, I've got a business card." But I think you've got to like think, well, why have you got a business card? Like, why are you trying to get? Why are you trying to look more?
It's almost like faking it before you make it.
What is that noise?
Is that your phone?
No,
it's not my phone.
Shit, it might be my laptop.
Yeah, it's all right. It's technical errors.
Let me close that.
Just start that point again, maybe.
Yeah, that's fine. Just talk for me.
Hey, is that working?
Again?
Hey, Jamie here. Viddyoze.
Hello.
Technical issues.
We're fine.
Right.
Fucking hell. I don't bore.
Right, so you were making a point about...
okay, I'll go back to that,
Yeah.
So it's funny you said that about the suit thing, because like anybody that's starting out in business, I think we all do the same. Like I did it as well, where when I started, I thought I needed business cards. So I got 1,000 business cards.
1,000.
And I literally I've probably gave out like 3.
Yeah.
Like it's like pointless. People spend money on things and they do things that you probably don't need to do at the start. Like I think every single person probably thinks they need to get a good logo, like, do all the branding and stuff. But like I think one thing I learned from this book, it's Michael Masterson, Ready, Fire, Aim, really good book. And he talks about like the primary thing that any business should do, even whether they're starting out or if they're a massive corporate business, they should be just selling.
I think our background probably drove us into that way anyway. Because I know that when you quit a sales job, as I did, and you're on a wage and I got commission and stuff like that, but what I did have, unlike you with the 100% commission, I did have a wage. And I had to leave that behind. Basically think, right, I'm going to take the risk. I don't have any saved money or anything like that. I'll just go for it and sell. That always, I would have said that set me up for the fact that I had to sell first. You have to sell first because otherwise I wasn't eating. Or I wasn't, in that case, I was staying at my mum's. I wasn't paying board. So
yeah. No, I think as well, like when you start out, you just got to figure out like what is it you want to get across to your like prospect? Like what is it they need? And that should be the primary focus. Like even now, like when we're doing business now, it's just like, well, if we're selling something, it's like, well, how do we get them to that thing? Like, how do we just sell it? Like we've got a massive design team, we've got developers, we've got content writers and all of that stuff. But like everything always starts with like, what is it we're trying to get the customer to do? What are they trying to buy? And that's then we then build everything around that. So we don't like waste time trying to design the most amazing thing ever.
No.
I mean, later on we'll talk about Viddyoze in terms of like how we built that.
Yeah, and launched it and all of that.
Even Viddyoze, like the product itself, like it wasn't an amazing thing at the start, was it?
No, I mean for anyone that, you can go and Google it, Viddyoze. It's spelled Viddyoze as well for anyone that doesn't know. But if you go and Google it, you'll see now it's big. We've got tons of, it's all template driven. Again, we'll get into Viddyoze in more detail shortly, but we have like 1,500 templates as of right now on that platform. When we first launched that, I think we had 30. It was 30 or 40 templates. And some of those weren't, I think we still got some of the original ones on there. And you look back at them and you're like, God, that doesn't look great anymore. It's not, because obviously it's come on for, the past 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was all about us just getting it to a point. Again, the whole thing, just let's sell. Let's just get it out. Let's make some money and then build on top of that.
So you were basically doing like you were doing like a boiler room sales thing, and selling SEO, and then you got into
digital products. Yeah, so because I was really good at selling over the phone, cold, and I was also good in any sort of sales environment, meetings, whatever. I started to I came across the Warrior Forum, which you'll know about because I know you were on there as well, and I was basically looking at what happened on there. So they had this thing called Warrior Special Offers, And I was looking through that, and basically, for anybody that doesn't know what this is, it was a part of the forum where you could put up a digital product. So, I mean, there wasn't really software at the time, but it was like ebooks, PDFs, all of that. And you could basically put together any sort of training in that format and write a little sales letter on a forum post, literally, with a PayPal button and sell. And I was buying these products. So I was seeing other people were talking, and they at the time, it was known as the offline niche or niche, however you want to pronounce it. Offline, that's what it. And basically, what that meant was, it was an online marketing forum, but the actual industry, or if you will, the niche part of it I was in was offline, meaning we sold to businesses that weren't online. So I saw this kind of at the beginning of this niche, if you will, starting to grow. So I thought, well, I can sell. I think I bought a couple of products, can't remember what it was, and I was looking, they were sales products. And I bought one, I think it cost like $10 or something like that. I read through it, and what this person had put throughout, I can't remember who did it now. I knew what they'd written in there wasn't correct, and I knew that the way they were saying you should sell, I knew didn't work. I knew they basically put together a product that they weren't doing. I just could tell you definitely not out there selling, because this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, if they're doing that, I may as well try and do it. So I created this product. At the time, it was called, the first one I did was, I think, called the Offline Stealth Tactic. And basically, it was all about building, at the time, it was quite ahead of its time when I look back, but it was all about building an autoresponder. And you had a free report which showed local businesses, hey, here's how to get, I think at the time it was like, here's how to work SEO your own website and a few little tips. And it had like an opt-in, and basically I just showed people how to build this opt-in, what I was giving away, and then the follow-up emails, which were about 4 or 5 of them, which led to them contacting me back and basically saying, can I just get you to do the work? So I put this little PDF guide, and I think I accompanied, no, it was just literally a PDF and some swipe files, as we call them. And I sold that for like, I think it was $14 or $17.
Yeah.
And I think I did about, I mean, it wasn't massive amounts, like 50, 60 sales, which to me at the time, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I've just put this together in my own time.
How much would that have been like?
50, well, 10 is 170 times 5.
$1,000 or something.
Just over $1,000, I think. About $1,700-ish dollars, 16.
Yeah.
So to me, that was like my mum's wage at the time. So I was like, oh my God, I've just done this, and this is just information I thought everyone knew, and I put it together, and people are buying it via PayPal, and I'm not having to do anything for these sales. I think it happened overnight, because it's generally, the forum is heavily American based.
Yeah.
And then I've woke up in the morning to all these PayPal notifications, and I'm like, I need to be doing more of this. I've got loads more. And then from there, I just created products like that.
Yeah.
Is that similar to how you
done
the same?
I remember when I discovered Warrior Forum, it was basically, it's really quite an odd story, really. Like, I've got a friend called Jay, who's also in the digital marketing space. Basically, you've met Jay, you know Jay.
Yeah.
And basically, like, we've grown up together. Me and Jay, like, known each other since we were 1. Like, I've seen him running around naked in my house as a child for some reason, but more than once as well. But anyway, me and him have been best mates like pretty much all our lives. But when we turned about 16, 17, we lost touch completely, and we hadn't seen each other for like 4 or 5 years or something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I heard about this mastermind that was happening in Slough, in the area, and I was like, all right, well, I'll go along, because I saw like the Warrior Forum online. So I typed in how to make money online, and literally Warrior Forum is what I found. That's pretty much how I come across it. And then there was this mastermind happening locally. I went to it, and he was there, basically. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is weird.
Yeah.
So me and Jay pretty much like got into it at the same time. And then there was another guy there called Jovan who knew of somebody in Wales who was doing really well. His name was Alex. And I thought, well, if there's a guy in the UK who's doing really well, I should reach out to him and try and find out. Because my perspective is, like, if you want to do something, just model the best people.
Yeah.
And I think we still do that now.
Yeah, definitely.
We just look at who's, like, if you look at, like, we're looking at people like ClickFunnels now, on a big level, we're looking at them as a business, and it's like, how do we build something like that? But even back then, it was the same thing. And then, I just started, like, I reached out to Alex and was just like, look, like, I want you to train me how to build a business. I want to teach me how to build a business, but I didn't have any money. So he ignored my messages for like a good 3 or 4 months, basically, like just constantly, like, I was just hammering him. And in the meantime, I was trying to build products and that. I built an info product, and it was called Road to Wealth Coaching, which is like the worst.
This was before all the video stuff?
Yeah. I was trying to teach people how to build a list, basically.
Right.
And it was funny because I hadn't built my own list at the time. So I was just like repurposing.
Road to Wealth. How, so cheesy names.
Yeah. I was just repurposing content, trying to do that. And then, yeah, that didn't work. It was crap, to be honest. And then Alex finally responded and just said, yeah, like, you know, what is it you do in that? And I was like, well, I make videos. And I've always had a bit of a skill of making videos, like when I was a kid. I've always been into it, like filming parties, weddings and that. And then basically I just said to him, look, like, if you want, I'll come and film your events and that. In return, like, just give me some tips or just like let me into some of your content and that.
Yeah.
He didn't say yes straight away. He basically said like, well, I need to see what you can do, because I didn't even have like a website and that or a portfolio to show anything. So I had to like go and borrow a camera off someone. And then I got Jay and I said, look, let's make a quick video together so I can show this guy what I can do. Made a quick video in a day, sent it back out, and then Alex was like, all right, like, this is good. And then because he liked it, he invited me out to his office.
Yeah.
And even that was long, because like he was like, yeah, you'll have to get a train up. And I was like, I ain't got no money to get a train. So because Alex was in London at the time, he thought, well, look, I'll just pick you up then. And he picked me up from my house. Like, and my mum was
Where did you go to? Where about, is it Wales you went to?
Yeah, like, so it was like
Cardiff, was it? Or?
Yeah, 2.5 hour drive or something from London. And like my mum was just like, what are you doing? Like, you're just going with this strange guy you've met online who's claiming he's a millionaire, and like you're just like going in this black tinted out Range Rover. But so it just looked really weird. And Alex, like, you know, he likes his weed and that, and he's like, well, he did back then, and he's like, you know, he's dressed up in his like really rugged clothing, so he didn't look like your typical entrepreneur. So I was like, well, just don't worry about it, we'll just see what happens. So it's funny, man, like on the way all the way to his office, like he was just telling all these mad stories, like, and I didn't believe any of them.
Stories about what, like marketing?
Nah, just weird things he's done, and like he just came across very eccentric and that. Alex is a really nice guy, by the way. Like, so I'm not like slagging him off. He's a nice guy. But he came across really eccentric, and I thought, is he going to be serious? Like when we get there, is he actually going to teach me anything? And then when we got there, it all just turned around. Like, and he had an office, he had like staff, and I was like, shit, this is like real. This guy's like really got a business, and like I've got an opportunity here. So literally, I just worked like for the whole week up until like literally every night I was in the office till really late, just making videos because I wanted to show him what I could do. And then the video basically got made. We were there. He really liked it, and then, you know, they went and used the video and that, and it turned out to be quite a big thing at the time in the industry, because no one had really seen content like that.
I remember seeing I didn't know you shot those videos at the time, but I remember seeing, because I remember Alex being in the space, like it was one of the leaders of the space at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing a lot of the videos coming out and thinking, yeah, that looks cool. What's he doing? And I didn't know you were shooting him at the time. Yeah,
I mean, I remember him showing. We were in a car, and he got a phone call with Frank Kern, and even Frank Kern was on the phone, and he was like, that's a good video. And I was like, whoa, like, he liked the video. That means that I must be able to do something gooder. And then that's when Alex said, you know what, like, you need to start teaching people how to make videos. Like, you need to do a course on that, and that's what you need to do, not teach people about list building and shit.
I was about to say, how did you go from going to that event to the next stage?
Because it was like I just repurposed everything that I knew, which, to be honest, I didn't really know loads. I just knew enough to like make a video. So that was quite hard, because I've not done any like film school or anything like that. It was just like stuff that I've picked up on the way.
That's an interesting point, actually, because kind of similar to me, where I thought what I knew was it's standard, everybody knows this, but you don't realize that. And again, for anybody watching that has any sort of skill, even if it's completely, in fact, in some cases, being self-taught's better, that you actually probably sitting on a skill right now that people will pay big money to basically learn.
Yeah, 100%. Like, when I made the first course, it was like, I thought it was pretty bad. Like, it was basic. It was basically just like this mind map that I made.
What was it called?
It was called the Video Marketer's Guide. So it was really simple.
Well, that isn't as cheesy as...
Yeah, it was just like really matter-of-fact video marketing guide. So that's it. So there's no character to it or anything. But it was a picture of a mind map, and then I screen captured the picture and just talked over it, and that was it. Like, I sold it for like $17. And then I had a $47 upsell, and that was it really. But it done 50K.
Yeah, massive.
Like that was the first time I'd made money for myself in my own business, and I was just like, I still remember when I made my first sale.
Yeah, I do.
And I was like,
what was it of that? Do you mean, or
yeah,
in general?
it was that product, and it was like, when I made the first sale, I knew like this could work.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, because I remember after doing that one course that I'd done, which was, I mean, a lot lower level than, I mean, I wasn't doing 50K in revenue, but I was pushing out more and more of those products. And I remember one you mentioned there about you just filmed this mind map. I had a course called Phone Obliteration, and it was basically it was a $97 product. So for me, that was like, right, I'm creating something bigger here. And what I thought deemed more value was video, but I couldn't shoot video. So what I actually did at home on my mum's dining table, I had like a stack of books, and I had this really old, I can't remember if it was a Nokia or it was some form of phone. It wasn't smartphone era, but it shot video, and I was able to get this smartphone and prop it up with a book to film me on camera, and I did some lessons on there, but it literally was me with my mum's wallpaper behind me talking to this camera.
Yeah.
And I remember releasing it. It was really good content, but I remember releasing it, and I've got a few comments back from people that had bought it. They loved what I was talking about in it, but they said, it's quite long and drawn out watching you just stood there in front of the camera for 30 minutes. Because I wasn't doing anything. There was no animation, nothing.
Yeah.
You just have to, I suppose, do with what you've got.
Yeah, that's it. You just make basic stuff. I think, again, like, one of the lessons I learned back then was like just try not to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like, same thing, isn't it? Like, you don't need to get it perfect on day one.
You've just got to get it moving, haven't you? That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I went from doing that first course to be honest, like after I'd done the first course, I made 50K. I thought I was a millionaire. I thought that's it. Like I'm rich now.
Outspending it.
And I literally spent all the money.
That is a lot of money, though, isn't it? In general, like
just,
to get.
I was living at my parents' house, so I didn't really have any bills. But like, I was just I don't know. Like I'd worked really hard. Like I was filming all the content like at 1-2 a.m. in the morning because I was in my parents' house. I couldn't like do anything during the day, so I had to wait for them to sleep, and then I'd do it at night, and it was really tiring. And then after I made all the money, I was just like, that's it now, I'm just gonna relax now. And then I literally spent almost a year just wallying around. I was trying to do other stuff, but I didn't want to I thought I didn't want to teach. Well, what it was, I didn't want to really do training courses. I wasn't really like into it, but because that's not really what my passion was like. And so I kind of got a little bit like down about it, a little bit depressed, and I was like, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
But then because I ran out of money, I had to do it again anyway. So I done it again. I done it twice more. The second time I did it was a course called Video Induction System, which was like
better name.
Slightly, yeah. But then that one did 150K. That
massive.
And I was like, oh, that's crazy, man. Like 6 figures. Like I was in a very good place then. But again, like I was just not happy, like fulfilled with what I was doing. I was kind of like, I don't know, umming and ahhing, like, do I really want to just make courses, basically? Yeah. And then I didn't want to do what I did before and lose all the money, so I'd done it again, like quite quickly.
Yeah.
And I made another one called iPocket Video.
I remember that one. That was the first one where I saw, that looks cool.
Yeah.
I remember the video you did down the street with the phone in your hand, was it? Or
yeah, just like shooting my video myself, like with this selfie stick thing. Basically.
Yeah.
And that was like just teaching people how to make videos with their phone. And that did about 140K, that one. So by the time I'd done those two, it was only like 6 months apart or something. Like I had enough money in the bank where I was like, right, now I need to figure out what is it I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't want to do courses. So I was really sensible with my money at that point and just saved it.
Yeah.
And that's when pretty much I was like, started looking at software.
Yeah.
Because ultimately the goal was like, I just want to be a fucking millionaire, basically.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to do that I could do it making courses, but it's definitely not as sexy as making software, because you could go and sell a software
you've got
company.
an asset, haven't you, then, to sell? Like that's
because I just saw all these entrepreneurs online like just sold like Minecraft for 20 million or whatever it was, sold this app for this much, and it's like everyone was just selling apps, and that seemed to be the thing, and I was like, that's what I need to get into, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, because I before I got into software, which is kind of how I met David as well, was I actually flipped websites for a little bit as well, because that's I had the same thought process where it was like training was training, but it was me doing it, and I was having to make money every month or every few months and keep building up the bank balance just by I'll have to put another training course out, and I wasn't really enjoying that.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, what can I build that I can actually sell? And I started to build websites, and that's what I saw as like, oh well, I can use. There was a site still around that right now. I think it's the biggest out there for flipping websites, Flipper. And I saw initially when that quite was early, within its early days, I saw people building out what we call mini sites. So it's like I'd create a sales page for a product, like a weight loss product.
Yeah.
And I'd have that, I'd usually write that myself, the copy, or I'd get a copywriter to write it. I'd have it designed into a little mini site, and then I'd have somebody create a full PDF on it, like a ghostwriter, and I'd sell it as I'm selling you a full product business in a box, and that did all right on Flipper. And then I started a theme that when I got into software, I started a WordPress theme company with a guy called Peter Beattie, and again we built this WordPress theme business called Primo Press, which did really well. We created these themes and we resold them within the same markets, Warrior Form, but we actually were doing quite nice, 5 figures easily, multiple 5 figures per launch, and we started to create this cool little WordPress theme business. Since ended up going our separate ways. We had different pursuits, and we sold that business. But then that's how I kind of started to look the same way as you, where I was thinking I need something that isn't me, that's not Jamie doing this training. It's an asset that can be sold to somebody else, and that's how I got into software. And from working with Peter, that's when I kind of met David. I actually met. And again, David might tell this story in more detail in the next episode, but I had gone out to North Carolina to a Warrior Forum event, and the reason I went out there was to meet Peter Beattie, because we were working together. I was like, oh, well, I'll come out to the States, we can meet up and chat. So I'd met Peter there, and it just so happened that within the bar where I'd met Peter and I was out there with him at the event, Peter went home early, and then I ended up meeting David at that same event, then that triggered off obviously another path for me.
That's so mad.
It's
crazy how things come together, really. Like, because if you didn't meet Peter, then you wouldn't have.
No, if I didn't go out there,
done that.
No, even though David was up the road, and I think David knew of me beforehand anyway, because I think he might have even bought some of my courses. But yeah, I'd met him out in North Carolina.
Yeah. And then what, you guys basically
built some software. Well, we actually didn't do anything together initially. We just started to kind of share some ideas.
Because you guys live locally.
Yeah. We used to meet up and just grab a coffee in Starbucks and basically talk ideas. And then we decided to get into mobile marketing, because it was the big craze of new mobile websites, and we started to sell mobile websites individually to businesses. I think we were white labeling some software at the time that built these websites, and we just started a little web design business. And then from there we decided to build our first big piece of software, which was at the time called Mobelio, which was a mobile coupon creator loyalty program type thing, which in itself, and I can say, I mean, that business kind of is no more anymore, but in itself was way ahead of its time. We had a really good product. We literally went down the whole SaaS model out at the Web Summit with it, all of that, and we had a really cool product. It was ahead of its time, because after Mobelio, a few others came into the market with a bit more spend than us and kind of took that market. But that was our first foray into software.
Yeah. So
pretty much. And then obviously we met you. Well, we connected on Facebook, and that's because you probably you listened to Mobelio at the time, wouldn't you? Because it was
I mean, what was happening was, like, I basically attempted to build a couple of software products. I made 2. One was called Insta Thumbnail, which was like an instant thumbnail creator for videos. The idea was all right, but it was badly executed. I think we made I know it sounds like a lot, like I think we done like 30K, and that sounds like a lot, but really, like, the stage that I was at and the scale I was trying to get to, it was like pretty bad.
Plus, you've got investment in that as well, because the another thing we saw with training, your investment's your time. But with software, you're actually having to physically pay somebody. Your cash to basically build whatever it is you.
And there's like other associated costs with putting a product out, like partnership prizes and all that stuff, which we'll go into like in another time. But there's obviously all these different costs, and like I did that. That flopped, and then I did another one called Vidify, which I think was just almost a bit too ahead of its time,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit, because it was like an interactive video thing where the goal of it was to basically keep people stuck to your video. So the stats are like essentially the more people that watch your video to the very end, the more likely they are to actually buy the product. So I was like, well, what we should do is the app should basically be able to measure where viewers drop off the video. So it could say like, right, at 13 seconds, people are dropping off. So what it will then do is at 13 seconds, it puts this like mini game on the video.
Yeah.
And then you have to solve the puzzle. And it says that, right, solve this mini game, and then you get a free gift at the end, or you get a coupon at the end. So it's like, all right. So it re-engages the viewer. And it actually worked. Like we tested it and people actually were going to the end. But I just think that the marketing was bad and we just didn't execute that side of it good enough. So that flopped completely. I think we done like 10K or something.
Yeah.
And then it's funny as well because as I was building that, like that's when I met you guys, because I remember when we first started working together and shooting the videos, I kept calling the product Vidify.
I remember, yeah, because I do remember that time when we were shooting things like the JV video and stuff. You were still working on Vidify because you didn't know what was going to happen with videos. And
Yeah.
well, none of us did at the time. I mean, when we first came together, and which actually, just to put into context, was literally just a Facebook message you sent me because you'd seen us building this software. You wanted to kind of do something, maybe partner up with somebody in the UK and build something a little bit more.
Yeah. Like I reached out to another guy in the States. I won't say his name, but like I kind of gave the idea of what I'd like to create. The idea was basically like, I just wanted to be able to animate a logo essentially. Because what started happening was because I was flopping the software products.
Yeah.
I thought, right, I need to make another course because that's what I do really well.
Yeah.
So what I'll do in the meantime is I'll make a course on like advanced video tricks, and I thought I could teach people how to make animations. So when I thought it'd be pretty easy to pick up, but it wasn't. So when I started trying to learn it, I still remember I posted a logo thing that I made once in my own user group, and it was horrendous. And it was like,
what did you make it with? After
Effects, yeah. I tried learning After Effects. I tried like trying basic stuff with it so I could teach it. But then as I was doing it, I was like, this is impossible. Like I can't figure this out. So then I thought, well, maybe there's an app that kind of does it for you. Like I could just teach people how to go and use the app, but there wasn't one. So I thought, like if there was a way you could just automate this process where you could like animate a logo, that'd be pretty mint.
Yeah.
So then I took that idea to one guy in the US who basically like he made a prototype, and it was just the stupidest thing ever. Like I remember I showed you guys, and it was like we call it the frog thing, like because basically all it did was like it made animations. But it was like it looked like something you'd watch on like Looney Tunes. Basically, it was
like 2D.
It was like a cartoon thing, and it was like horrendous. And then, obviously, I was just trying to find someone that's built a good software company. So I heard of Mobelio, and I didn't know who you guys were really, but I knew the Mobelio brand.
Yeah.
I knew that the thing that really struck out was you guys weren't doing launches, like you guys weren't growing it by basically doing it the way that I was doing it.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, they're obviously selling a software product and they're doing it differently to how I've been doing it. So that's someone that I want to kind of like understand what is it they're doing, how they're doing that. That's pretty much why I ended up reaching out, because I thought you guys were doing it slightly different.
Yeah, I think with Mobelio, I remember we were selling it in two different ways. We had, because with the whole launch thing as well, what I suppose what we've all come to realize over the years is because there's this big debate. For anybody in the internet marketing space, you'll kind of understand what we're talking about with launches, and we'll go into what a particular launch is and how it all works in more detail in another episode because there's quite a lot to it. But everybody has this thought that I can't build a business with a launch. I need to get away from launches. I need to build a business that builds by itself. And 100% yes, but launches can have a significant impact and should be utilized throughout the entire life cycle in a lot of ways of yours. And that's something we didn't do with Mobelio, but we got kind of lucky because we were selling Mobelio to locally. So how Mobelio worked was, for anybody, for context, was we had a mobile. Our idea was a loyalty thingy on a mobile. So where you go to Starbucks and you have that card that you get stamped. I think they're all digital now with a card, but at the time people were using these physical paper stamps. So I was right, let's just turn it into a mobile. Everyone's got the mobile. We made some big errors with Mabelio though, which again we'll talk about because we've learned from that, because it was quite complex to use. And the reason it was complex to use, for like an end user, someone that would go into a coffee shop, they had to sign in and all of this, which nobody wants to stand there for a minute signing in to get a stamp. They just want to get in, get out. They're probably on the way to work. So it was flawed. But in the other side of things, the reason it got to that point is we sold a white label version of it. So we used to sell on webinars to users that or customers, if you will, users that have come from the launch space.
Yeah.
And we had a higher price white label version of this platform, which was really, really powerful, massive value in it. But we used to just take features all the time. So it was like, well, what do you guys want to see? We'd always get emails, as we do right now. Hey, video should do this, video should do that. We got that at the time. But at that time, we were like, right, let's just do it then. Let's just do it. So we were adding absolutely anything anybody asked for. And it made the platform very... I mean, it had everything, but it was way too complex. So that's kind of was its downfall in a lot of ways. And Mabelio did well. And we were easily sustaining without having to do launches, which is how we got into the conversation. But we picked up a lot from that, which we then took into Viddyoze. Because when we then decided, you brought that idea, hey, I want to do this, can you guys build it? We built a prototype with our team. I remember at the time thinking, we just need to make sure it's as simple as possible. And it was easy sometimes. And I mean, I was even guilty of it sometimes, where you think, oh, well, the user's saying this, so we've had some beta testers, they're saying this, we should add this, we should do this. But luckily, we'd learned a little bit from Mabelio, and we all decided it just needs to be simple, and that's probably why it worked.
Like even over the years, last 4 years, the product still does the exact same thing.
The same.
We've not added like intense amount of features and things like that, and I think that's why people use it so much.
I think the only feature we've added since the launch in 2015 is live previews. To the flow. It's just so people can see a quick snapshot of what the animation is going to look like.
Yeah, and even that, it's not even like a function thing. It's more like that just makes the experience better. It doesn't mean they have to do another thing. It's just like makes it better, I guess. Now that's pretty much where it was anyway. It was like, so we obviously spoke on Facebook. We then connected on Skype, talked about the idea. You guys built the MVP, and I think when we launched it, obviously we'd put in a bit of cash, probably like $20,000-$30,000 or something like that. I guess, like maybe to really get it going, and then we launched it September 29th, 2015, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Yeah,
and when we launched it as well, I think because we just come together, and it was kind of a casual partnership at the time as well. We didn't, I don't even think we formed a business initially. It was like, I've got this idea, right, we'll build it, right, let's go, let's just launch it. And the idea was, we'll just launch it, we'll probably get a ton of users, make a bit of money, and then we can just, support it, but then carry on with doing what we're doing. But we quickly realised, and we'll get onto in another episode, that it didn't quite go like that. We'd kind of all realised, actually, do you know what? We need to be looking at videos only here, because this is where the real opportunity is. Yeah, I think the recurring theme here pretty much is like not trying to make everything perfect straight away. Because like even there, like when we partnered up, I know a lot of people would say, right, let's drop a business agreement now. Yeah. Let's go and start a limited company or an LLC or whatever in the States. Let's start a bank account. We didn't even do that. We just used our PayPal or something like that at the time. I think we didn't even have like a joint PayPal at one stage. It was like we threw it all into one, and then like I still think even till this day we don't even have like a proper like agreement. No, like obviously we've got a company, but and I think we've probably taken that through the past few years as well, because we've worked with loads of different people around the globe where we don't initially go in and go, right, we've got to get this all down, this has to be all legit, legal, whatever. If somebody's got an idea, we've talked to people before, we've promoted products, and we've just thought, right, let's just run with it and see how it goes. And if it goes well, if we find that there's something there, then we can make everything a little bit more formal. Yeah, the funny thing is, the one time we did do that, where we did agreement, and it didn't actually work. So I suppose we can maybe talk about that as well in a future episode. But that's pretty much, I think, like the story. We went and launched Viddyoze, and we did about $450,000 in the space of 4 days
in that initial launch. So for me, that was the biggest thing that I'd ever done at the time. I guess for you guys as well. And then literally from that point, it never got smaller.
No.
Like every time we went and done it, I think the second time we did it was, I can't remember now.
June 2016.
Yeah, that would have been like
2.
600K or something.
Yeah, 600, 650. That was 2.0, wasn't it? And then, I mean, we can explain all of these things, because I think what's important as well is that number 450K isn't just bang, it happened. There was quite a lot that went into making that happen. We kind of failed our way forward, but it kind of came off.
Yeah. No, and then since then, it's just been pretty much like a lot of lessons learned. As we said, like to point now, it's been about $30 million in sales. And, initially it was just me, David, and Jamie. I think we had a designer and one animator and one developer.
One developer, yeah.
And now it's like, there's us three.
I mean, we were doing all the support tickets for the best part of maybe a year and a half.
Yeah. Sitting up till 1 a.m. in the morning doing support tickets. It was a pretty mad ride, really. And it's been really interesting. But that's pretty much why we're here now. That's why I think now's the time where doing a podcast is a good thing, because we've actually got things we can talk about.
Yeah, we've achieved something. Because that's one of the things, I mean, we have probably mentioned podcasts in the past, or we've seen other people doing it, but I know we've probably all thought, well, we haven't done anything yet. We haven't got anything. Yeah. It's like you see reality stars that come off the back of the first reality TV show, Love Island or whatever, and they're writing an autobiography, and you're thinking, well, you're 24 years of age, you've not done anything. That's how I would have felt prior to this, but now we've achieved, and we're going in, as we'll get into, some really exciting times with the business as a whole, taking it to the next level, and we've got loads to talk about now.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think that's probably a good time to stop this particular episode.
Yep.
Apologize of the lack of structure to the first one, but it is the first one.
Yeah.
If there's anything you've learned from this initial episode, is that we just get into it and then we perfect it as we go. So
I suppose as well, it's just about everybody understanding who we are, where we've kind of come from. Obviously, in the next episode, David will be on as well, because it's not just me and Joey, it's David as well. So next episode you'll hear from David, and we can take it from there and start. I suppose everyone's going to be thinking, well, they want to hear all about, so what's Viddyoze like? How did you make that 450? What do you do now? How have you built a team? How's it all worked? We don't code. That's what we'll get into over the next few episodes. And there's some interesting things.
All right, cool. Well, that's pretty much it for this episode. You've been listening to Just 3 Clicks. If you want to learn more about Viddyoze and what it is that we actually do, head over to www.viddyoze.com, which is Viddyose. Check it out if you want. No pressure. And but one thing you should do definitely is make sure you subscribe to this podcast and catch us on the next episode. Cool.
That's it. Went all right, that, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so.